All right, I have them now, but they are all nicely coiled up. And this is not how I like to start my streams, but I was experiencing a few small technical difficulties in the equipment department. Uh, as you may or may not be aware, my second monitor is an iPad, and it lives over here. And that works really well, except I think that there's an issue with my iPad's Lightning port where it suddenly is not working. I don't know. It was not. It was saying that it was not connected to my Mac for quite a while, and I use a wired connection to make this stuff work. And it what else? It wasn't like charging, or the charging indicator was like flashing on and off and on and off. So, and it's been doing this in like previous weeks, and I thought it was just a bad lightning cable, but I've used like three tonight, and anyway, so it's working now, but no one breathe because if it moves at all, I'm afraid it might stop working. And I really like having that second monitor over there. It is very good. Hi, how are you guys all doing? You folks, all of you. Nice to see you. I'm here. I've survived another week of craziness at work. Um, I got the okay at work to take my foot off the accelerator a little bit, which is good. But I am still very tired from the last few weeks, so I'm hoping to recover a little bit over the weekend and then have like a more chilled out week next week. So that should be good. Nevertheless, we plod onwards through the joyous app development. Hey, Wondermoo. Through the joyous world of app development. I have been fighting with UI table view all week. It would be nice if Apple let that class stay the same with regard to like how it offsets its content between versions of iOS, but now I've like got like code where I'm like, okay, so on iOS 10 do this, but in iOS 11 do this. I don't even want to look at iOS 9. I'm afraid of what it'll do. Oh my goodness. Okay, so updates on the channel, anything at all. I became an affiliate after last Thursday. No, I stream on Fridays. After last Friday's stream, that was exciting. It meant that I got to make an emote, which I think is still pending. I looked at it yesterday and it was still pending. But yeah, if you subscribe, as soon as it's done pending, you will get an emote of my awesome. Where's OBS? There it is. Of my awesome loading duck who is named Buffer, and yeah, that's pretty good. What I've updated my Twitch page to basically say, like, the hope here, the main purpose of this channel is to inspire myself to do personal projects, and that is a reward in and of itself, and hopefully could even be a financial reward should I release them and be able to sell them. But the streaming thing is also really fun. And any sort of monies that come in from streaming, I will happily put back into streaming, with the first thing to buy being a computer that can actually handle streaming. And not have crazy technology compromises that involve iPads hooked up and things like that, and also like not only use a decent web camera but use it at like decent settings. I actually intentionally like keep this ratcheted down to save my poor computer from exploding due to streams. Anyway, that's basically that. It's kind of cool to be an affiliate, and I don't quite know what to make of it, but we'll make the most of it, and you never know. And any that I guess the same is basically true for anything that I make off of selling apps. Like I guess the first really big spending goal is to turn the personal projects into like a new computer. But we don't want to buy a new computer this year anyway, because as I've already said, Apple computers right now are not very good. Well, Apple laptops are not very good, and my iPad just died, and now it looks like it's maybe coming back. Okay, it's back. That was scary. Apple laptops right now are not very good. So that's maybe wait until the next round I hope that they get the message and make them better. Okay, let's go and start coding again. Let's bring up the screen. Let's open up a video game soundtrack of some sort to listen to. We've done a lot of really good ones. All right. That was okay, there we go. Yeah, it's Earthbound. Let's go and try and find... So Xcode is not open, apparently. I guess last time we saw our heroes was Saturday. I've actually taken the VOD down from Saturday in case I accidentally shared some incriminating information. Not incriminating information, but identifying information about myself with regard to like key pairs and things like that. I don't think I did. But anyway, I took the VOD down just in case, just for safety. So you can't find that. But what we did on Saturday, or Sunday rather, was we went through and tried to get our app up onto iTunes Connect so that we could start giving alpha versions to Ash for her to check out for artistic purposes. And we haven't got there yet. Still working on that, unfortunately, because it took a lot longer than I expected, but we made good progress. So there might be a bonus stream this weekend to try and get that finished up, because it does need to happen. Now, I don't want to connect to my iPad. Let's just change it to the SE right now and take a look at where we left our app. Yeah, archive canceled. Remember, we were building and archiving instead of building and running. 7:20. So we're 20 minutes in already and haven't written any code. Feels sad. Can I make a confession? I have never played Earthbound. People have told me that it's very good, and I've heard the soundtrack before, but I've never actually played the game. And it's available for like everything now. Like it came out on the 3DS even, so I could like play it on that if I wanted. But there's just no time now for video games with my daughter and a lot of work to do. It's been harder to squeeze in time for games recently. I picked up a Switch not long ago, and I guess last year at some point, before my daughter was born, maybe. Yes, I think it was before she was born. I played a little bit of Zelda, but I'm comically not far in Zelda, and that is literally the only game that I own for the Switch at this point. Okay, so we got our app running. We have it so that we can enter a number. It goes to our draw view in a really kind of garish transition. We can draw cards. They come up from the bottom. We worked really hard on that custom animation, which looks a lot like the standard transition animation, but it's a little nicer. One thing that we can actually do if we want to look at stuff like that. Where is it? I think it's under device, or is it? I don't. Maybe they moved it, or maybe I just don't remember. Debug slow animations. We can actually like look at our animations in slow motion if we want to actually like investigate what's going on there. So like whoop. Whoop. So with it slowed down, you can actually see the card comes in at the bottom while the X fades in, but that is like super not evident. And then when we close it, interesting. There it goes. That was odd. That animation is like, that transition is taking longer than it should. I don't know what's going on there. Let's turn off slow animations. And run again, and make sure that we didn't screw something up. I mean, it looked fine when I was doing it, but I think it's just... Okay. Looks fine. Ash hasn't given me any more art to play with since last week, so we're still working with the same art that we had before. That's fine. So I guess first priority today is to make this business look a little less like crap, because it looks pretty bad right now. And if I'm going to be showing Ash previews, it would be nice if they didn't, if I didn't cover up all of her art with text. The most egregious example being the skull, which is like extremely there it is. you can't see the art at all because of this text, and like the text is still like the default font and whatnot. It just looks bad. So let's start by fixing that a little bit. I think that we have nothing outstanding in tower right now. No, we're fully committed on master. So I guess the first thing to do is going to be to, in the card view, we will make our label have a transparent background, and I'm going to make the text white. And then what I'm going to do is put another view behind it. We'll call this... I don't know if this is going to be a gradient yet, but it might be. We'll set translates auto resizing masks into constraints equal to false, so that we can use layout anchors on it. And we'll say view dot background color equals dot black, and we will give it transparent background. Probably help if I learn to type. That is very useful. Solves bugs that stop autocomplete from working, which I rely on heavily, as you've no doubt seen already. Try and go a few minutes later today, just because we got off to a late start. White. So white will be 0, and alpha will be 50% maybe? And we'll see how that ends up looking. So now we want to add it underneath the rules label, so we'll put it there. Imgauge. Add subview. Gradient view. as we're still calling it, even though we have not confirmed that it's a gradient. I'll probably change it if it's not going to be a gradient. And then here, we'll say, we'll give the gradient view the constraints that we currently give the rules text. And then we'll give the rules label the same to the gradient view, but we'll give it constants. So leading to leading, but the constant say is 8. Constant -8 for trailing. And then bottom to bottom. And the constant will also be -8. Now the key here is that the text is also going to be pinned to the gradient view at the top. With a constant of 8. So the hope here is that we're pinning it on all sides with a border of 8 around it. Now the gradient view doesn't have intrinsic size, but the rules text does, because it's text, so its intrinsic size will be like as much space as it needs to take up within its, as much height as it needs to take up once its width is constrained, or as much width as it needs to take up once its height is constrained. And we're constraining its width here and pinning it to the bottom, so it should grow upward from the bottom. And if the quote-unquote gradient view is pinned 8 points from the top of the label, that means that it should grow up from the top of the label, meaning that it will have an 8-point border on the top as well. Let's see if that actually does what I hope it will do, or if it will just crash immediately, which is something that could happen. Let's see if we immediately crash due to constraints. No, it does exactly what we expect it to do, with some exceptions. One is that we, for some reason, still have a background color on our label. It certainly still does have a background. Oh, okay, so I changed the title instead of the, well, that was silly. So that should be background color, and that should be text color is white. Background color can go away. Good, that's sort of more what I was hoping for. So now if we actually have a card with art on it, there we go. It covers the art, but it doesn't actually, the art is actually still visible through, and but the screen makes the text readable. But we can do better than that, I think. So let's say let's make the let's add the label to the dimming view. And let's say that the close button is hidden. Into Boolean. You can figure it out, Swift. If I'm typing TR and it can only be one of two things, it's not that difficult to figure out what it would be. And we'll say that the gradient view is hidden equals true. Okay. So now we should have created a situation where we can never actually get back from this view, and it's back to not showing the rules text and not showing an exit button, which is maybe not ideal, but we will work from this point. Just make sure that's working. Yeah, so no rules text, no close button. How do we get out? We can't. We just have to quit. That's okay. No one's going to use that version of the app. So what I'm going to do now is add a gesture recognizer. So in my card view controller, once the view loads, I will say card view dot. Yeah, the iPad is freaking out again. I'm not super happy. Image view. Add a gesture recognizer. And then I need to actually create a gesture recognizer to add to it. So let's say I don't know if you're seeing this flickering happening, but this is due to the iPad disconnecting and reconnecting due to, I think, a shoddy lightning cable. I'm pretty sad about that. Wait, this is the card view controller. We want the draw view controller. Oh, no, the card view controller is fine. So, so we'll create a tap gesture recognizer. Do we actually need to... I don't think that we need to do much with this. So I don't think we need to configure it at all here. So we'll just say there. Oh no, we actually do need to add like a target and an action to it, right? Yeah. So target is self. And... action to add to it, so we will call this toggle rules text. And we'll say card view dot gradient view dot is hidden the opposite of whatever it currently is, and card view dot close button, yeah, is hidden is equal to the opposite of what it presently is. So let's go back and set all this stuff up. So the action is toggle rules text. I'll probably actually have to give it a selector. go. But that also means we need to... Yeah, the method is not exposed to Objective-C, so we need to go and do that. This target action pattern still uses Objective-C, so it needs to... we need to expose it like that. This also should be private. I'm just like looking at this card view controller and I'm like noting all the things that should be private. Oh, wait, there's my actions. Why did I put that there? Sloppy, sloppy, sloppy. There we go. So, yeah. Toggle rules text is there. And then we'll add the gesture recognizer. Tap gesture recognizer. Okay. So, we'll see if this works. I'm pretty sure it will, with a caveat. Okay. It did not work. Now that could be... It could be that adding a gesture recognizer to an image view does not work very well. Okay, I'm gonna need to get rid of the iPad, I think, pretty soon, because this is ridiculous. The flickering is driving me nuts. I'm pretty sure this might just be a gotcha, that using an image view for this is potentially bad. I just want to see if this is actually activating the method, but I don't think it is. I don't think it is receiving the touch. And I seem to recall that that's because the image view adds the image to itself. Okay, jettisoning the iPad. Goodbye. The image view adds the image to itself, and that means that it does not register through the image. So let's test that theory. Let's say... Okay, this gets more complicated. Let's add a container view. Okay. And then we'll just take the image view. First of all, add subview, container view. So apply these constraints to the container view instead of the image view. That was not correct. And then then attach the image view on all sides of the container view. I try and keep my constraints in the same order every time so that for consistency, but also, yeah, so I can know what order that they should fall in. Okay, so that's done. Now what? Now we need to... I'm going to move the code that rounds the corners and adds the border to... Will that work? I was just going to say I was going to add it to the container view. I wonder if it'll be visible through the image. I think it will. So where's our image view? So take all this stuff, move it to the container view. Okay, that looks okay. I hope. Just run it and see what it looks like. It should look exactly the same as it did before. I hope. Oh, wait. So the container view needs to contain the image view. So that should be like that. And then we'll add the... we'll add our gradient view, I guess. Title label for sure needs to go in the container view. I guess all of these can just go in the container. Like that. And then let's just look at the constraints for those again. So where's our gradient? Let's do the image view. We should probably make it to the container view. Basically, I'm trying to stick to it with a pattern where I'm using the container as like the actual scaffolding that holds the view together, and then the image is just sort of like an image. Its only job is to hold an image. I'm like tempted to try the iPad again. Like, please work, iPad, but it's making me sad. It's launching again. Let's see if it's gonna give us a good run. No, it's just saying connect now. Sigh. Flicker, flicker, flicker. Was it worth all the flickering? Probably not. Title label. This can be to the container as well. Okay, let's try it now. I guess I have a trip to the Apple Store coming up this week that I was not expecting. That's interesting. Okay, so one, you can see that our clicking on this is not working. Two, that really messed up our transition, I think. Oh yeah, of course it did, because the image view moves in and everything was a child of the image view in the transition. So we need to change this. Oh, that's annoying because it's called container view. so this needs to be renamed to transition container view. Just so that I remember to keep things straight. And then what happened here? Our card view got added. So instead, we will add our container view. So I'm realizing. Oh no, wait, that's right. That's right. Okay, so the card view got added, and then the dimming view alpha got changed to 1, and the image view's translation got changed. So this is what we need to change here. So that gets changed to the container view, and then that gets changed to the container view. That gets changed to the container view. That gets changed to the container view. Okay, I think that's it. Let's go back here, and in our debug, we will slow animations so we can make sure that our animation is working the way that it's supposed to. Whoa! OS transition animations. Oh. Whoop. And draw. Whoop. Oh, and of course we can't dismiss it. Okay. Do. Okay, one thing at a time. I'm gonna go into my card view and unhide the button. Just until we can make sure that this is fully debugged. Actually, I should unhide my gradient view 2. We're dealing with an animation here, and I want to make sure all the elements are where they're supposed to be, and then we can fix it. I swear we can fix it. Should put on the soundtrack for like one of the old NES Ninja Turtles games. It's kind of what this sounds like. Okay, good. That's what we want it to be doing. We've already just established that this kind of breaks when slow animations is on for whatever reason. Seems like the completion handler just takes forever to go. Okay, so yeah, that seems to be working now. So what I suspect is happening is that the image view is blocking, or the image in the image view is blocking our gesture recognizers. So I'm going to say image view dot is user interaction enabled equals false. Image view dot is it exclusive touch? Yeah. And I'm hoping that will allow touches to just pass through it and hit the container view. Which I'm then going to attach my gesture recognizer to. just 'cause it's been bugging me a little bit. Let's make our container views border black. Black bordered cards. First printing. And is that what I was gonna do? Just change it to black? Maybe. Maybe that's what I was gonna do. I'm gonna leave the stuff on. Oh right, I was gonna change its background. Just so when we don't have a card, we have something that looks like something instead of a transparent thing. Also, because it's a tap target now, so I want it to, like, not... Sure. Yes! Okay. So that works. So yeah, it's actually hiding the gradient view, but interesting, it's not hiding the rules label, which I had thought was a... But it's not. I thought that that was a subview of the gradient view, but it's not, because I'm silly. That's better. Another thing about the iPad being out of commission is I can't read chat on it, but I guess I can, kind of, because I can, like, open the Twitch app. Of course, it's running out of power as well, which is not helpful because it cannot be charged. Though it kind of can. I don't know. Maybe it's... Poor iPad. Just like... Oh, oops. I plugged it into the computer by accident. I'm just rattling around trying to get cables sorted out to give my iPad some power. And hope that it actually is able to get some power from that. Does not look like it's charging. And then maybe it could look at chat. Whoop. Did you know that GUI Duck is live? Okay. Well, I'm in my own chat room on the iPad for what that's worth, but I think that it's not gonna last very long. Okay. So this appears to be working now. Yes? Yeah? Okay. But the default is going to be the other way around, I think. So that works, but we want them to default to off. Oh, that's not the one we want. That's not the one we want either. Gradient view is hidden true. And background color, no. We want the close button is hidden true. Okay, draw. Great. So we get the key, and then we click on it. We see what it does. Get the idiot. Feel like an idiot. Click on it, see what it does. Close it. That's like not the worst. I feel like this screen in the background needs to be darker. It's interesting because we've like made it pretty dark already. Fine, it can be darker. It's also possibly because this is like a white background, so that's why it feels so It's not bad. But now I'm missing my white border on the card again. Okay, so now let's make that a little prettier. So I guess the first thing that we're going to do is I guess we don't really need state on this, but because like theoretically it would make it a lot easier. I don't really want to look at the UI to know if it's hidden, so let's just say and then we'll say that what this actually does is it says so this toggles that, and then it does something, and then both of these will now just equal rules text is hidden. And so first we'll say if rules text is hidden. So if we are going to hide these, then the first setup that we need to do is their alphas need to go to 0. This is if we're hiding them, right? So if we're if we're in the process of hiding them, their alphas do not want to be 0. So if we are showing them, right? Then their alphas have to equal 0. So they are completely transparent in this configuration. Now, so the iPad says it's not charging, but it is charging. That's interesting. Alphas go to 0, and then we show them. Yeah. So then we trigger an animation. Just this one is fine. And for our animations, we will set the alpha to 1. Actually, no. If the rules text... So if we're hiding it... So if it's presently hidden... No, if we are in the process of hiding it, is what we're trying to say. If it is presently hidden, it goes to 0. If we're hiding it, it goes to 0. If we're not hiding it, it goes to 1. We need to use self because we're in a closure. So if we're hiding it, we're fading it out. If we're showing it, we're fading it in. This also needs to refer to self. Okay. And then, oh, we do need a completion block here. So this actually needs to be like that. And then after the animation is over, we do want to hide these things, but so if it's hidden, then we're gonna hide them. I actually don't know whether it's necessary to set that. Yeah, well, so if we're showing it, we make sure that they are shown first. That has to happen. And if they were just shown, the alpha is already 1. Theoretically, in the first place, it should be 0, but we're just setting it like that for you know, for safety. Whereas here, we know that we have explicitly set it to 1 in this case. So we shouldn't necessarily worry about it. We could probably write this in a much cleaner way, but... So the animate in is working, but the animate out is not. So that's this. Right, okay, so if we're hiding it, the alpha should start at 1, not 0. Nope. I broke it. Oh wait, okay, so not rules text is hidden means that we are showing. It means that the alpha should start at 0, because we are showing it. If it's hidden, the alpha goes to 0. If it's hidden, it goes to 0. How am I messing myself up with this logic again? I'm just going to do this as 2 different things. This is like not supposed to be a problem. Should not be being challenged by simple logic. If we're hiding it, Set the alpha to 1. Oh, I think that's it. No, still doesn't work. Okay, if we're showing it, if it is presently hidden, I really hate how hidden is the positive and shown is the negative. That drives me insane. If it is shown, then so if we plan to hide it and it is presently shown, we want it to be visible. If we do not plan to hide it, i.e., we plan to show it, it needs to be made visible, not hidden. Oh, why do I have this job? Why have I not been fired? Okay. I'm like face palming so hard right now. Yeah, I think RV Lushstrike, you're correct that I should just be setting the conditionals explicitly to true or false. Okay. Okay, we'll just do it like this. No, actually, we need to change that. that does need to change. Okay. So we're just going to define another variable with a less cognitive problem for Jeremy. Let show rules equals the opposite of rules text is hidden. So if we are showing the rules, if showing rules. Now, the thing we need to keep in mind here is that before we change the alpha from 0 to 1, we need to show the rules text. So we want to set the alpha to 0 so that they are invisible, because they are presently hidden and we are about to show them. Now, we need to unhide them. Okay. So now they should be visible, but with an alpha of 0, and we can animate the change in alpha. If the change in alpha has gone from if it has gone from 1 to 0, so if we are not showing them, if we are in fact hiding the rules, then after the conclusion of the animation, then we set is hidden to true on both of them. And like theoretically, it doesn't actually matter if they're hidden, as opposed to having just having an alpha of 0, but it's probably good that they are hidden. There was a bit of a stutter there. Hey, it's working like I wanted it to. Okay. So this is like a fairly common kind of thing to solve, and this is the most messed up it's ever made me, but I have gotten messed up by it before, and I feel like it's the is hidden being... sort of a double negative. Okay, so now we go back and remove my cognitive crutch. This is referring to self. Okay, so, but really, instead of doing this all here in this, why don't we do it? I feel like I actually want this as a separate convenience method. Just my initial thought was like, because of how this works, it should be a just a setter or a did set. And then I get to get rid of some of these selves. No, not those ones. So only one. That is probably a better way of doing that. And then I need to... this is a sloppy way of doing this, but it'll work for now. That's like very sloppy, because if we do that inside another animation, then that could hurt us, but still works. We refactored like pros. Well, RV Track, the visibility toggle is the hidden is hidden, and you can animate a change in the hidden variable within something called a stack view, but we're not in a stack view here, so we have to, if we want an animation to crossfade something in and out, then we have to do it ourselves. Otherwise it doesn't know how exactly we want to hide it. So it kind of sucks, because this whole like procedure is annoying. Like, I know about like this, where it's like I want it hidden, so I have to like unhide it first if I'm hiding it so that it's visible and that kind of thing is like annoying. It should be like if it's, you know, do an animation and then hide it, or do an animation and then show it, not like do some toggles and then do an animation and then do some more toggles. It's weird. Okay, so let's go. That's looking a little better. I'm happier with this. I'm still gonna say that my happiness is like not 1,000% on this, but it's definitely more sort of what we want. There was another bug, as I recall, and that was that it always scrolls back to the beginning whenever you open a card. You can see it doing it in the background. And it's not supposed to do that. It's only supposed to do that if we draw a new card. So we should probably modify that as well. But first we will commit this. So we'll stage this. Stage this. I think we're going to be roped into staging all this stuff. Stage that. All this needs to get staged. Don't need to. Where's the gradient view? Let's use that one line. And then here we need to change all of our transition animations. Refactor card view to use container view. Sorry for my general sadness there, upsetness. I get flustered when simple logic makes my brain hurt on a Friday afternoon. But toggle visibility of rules text. Still not sure if that's like a great idea because in theory that might not be great for the user to have that stuff be invisible when they first see the card, but again, we got plenty of time to revise things, so we'll go with that for now. I was going to fix that bug where the draw view controller scrolls when we don't want it to. I guess it's being triggered by the present. So I select it, and I just call the present card method. Okay, and this is where we're having an issue because we're always scrolling to the first item, but that's not necessarily the item that we want to scroll to. We want to scroll to whichever one the user selected. So, do we know the index of the card? No, we don't. But we have added it here, right? If the user just hit the draw button... Yeah, we inserted it 0, and then we present. So here we just take for granted that it's at 0, but in actual fact it is not necessarily, because now we can open it from there. So we could just pass the index through. Also, yeah, I mean, it also occurs to me that we could just pass the index through, and then, like, if we present 0, then that's operationally a little bit more efficient. And we could just say card. And then we have index down here. And that should work a little better. Did something wrong. Okay, well that's easy. We no longer have to do this, so... So, like, if we have to like loop through the collection views array to find which index is for a specific card, then that is less operationally efficient than knowing the index right off the bat. Good. Okay. So now, I think I would like to set up paging for this. This could be a long walk. Because we're looking at it right now anyway. When viewing it pretty... Okay, so now let's try and set up paging for our collection view. This could be a monster, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. 8:30. Yeah, probably RV Leshrac. You're probably correct. You're probably correct that I should not be using the word correct. Because yes, you're correct that it is almost sure to cause a bug at some point later, or I'm almost certain to find a bug later if I say that I did it correctly. But okay, let's. There is chat. I'm looking at chat on the iPad though, so I can look at it over there. What I want is okay. Well, it looks like it is a thing. Okay, so for my draw view, okay, right. So we had set the edge insets like this. We should actually be setting them based on how big we want the card to be. So specifically, I think we need to figure out what the card width is going to be in that collection view. In that, I think we were saying that there's the size there. So what I'm going to do is move this out. And I'm going to move it to the card cell. I'll give it a computed property called size. Blur. It's like halfway between a constant and a variable. Doesn't necessarily know what this is. Doesn't necessarily know what a collection view is. I guess realistically the better place to set this would be in the layout. It's harder to get that information across to the various places that I would want it. At this point, I know it's always going to be by itself in the view. I wonder if paging is part of the layout or... You would think it actually would be part of the... This is like literally Apple's demonstration image for collection views. That's hilarious. You would think that it would be part of the flow layout actually, because the collection view has no idea. Yeah, it should be part of the flow layout. So like you see that we have an item size thing here in the layout that we can use. But I don't see paging. I do not see paging on there. Thinking about it, I don't think I've ever done paging with a collection view. Oh, I see. That's clever. So basically, we set the desired content offset, i.e., where the table view bounces, based on, or where the collection view bounces, based on the size of page that we want. It's cute. I'm trying to think where. I guess it's just scroll views in general that have paging. Wait, a collection view is a scroll view. Okay. So how does this work? I feel like this is something that we need to figure out with Okay, so this is already a collection view layout thing. Let's go with that. So okay, so instead of setting the collection views insets here, in the view, I guess it doesn't matter. So Okay, so when we stop dragging the scroll view, we're going to calculate the closest center. Basically, the center is going to be horizontal offset is going to be scroll view dot offset content offset x, and we want to, so we want to take that. If you imagine that we're 2 cards in, we are an amount in equal to the leading edge inset plus card width plus spacing plus card width. So we want to subtract the leading edge inset. I might be too tired to do something like this. You subtract the leading edge inset and go to the take the first card center, it's the edge inset plus card width over 2. The next one is going to be spacing like that. That's where the next center is. And then every additional center after that is going to be the center plus the card width. So if we subtract this, that gives us 0, and that gives us 0. And then divide the remainder by spacing plus card width. And then just go to the nearest one. That should do it. So let's equals horizontal offset minus inset to plus. Okay, we need to set some constants here. So let's view dot edge insets, or no, content inset dot let's layout except for this doesn't actually have what I'm looking for. We need to say let's flow layout equals collection view dot layout as downcast it to a flow layout, and then say let this doesn't look like it's working. Collection view is no member layout. Oh, is it? Come on. Okay. So we'll actually guard on this. So if you don't have a flow layout to work with, don't bother. We'll just return immediately. Okay, so item size is flow layout.item size. And then we'll say that 0 offsets equals horizontal offsets minus item size dot width. Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. And then let's let index equal an integer. Oh, okay, no, because we can't just directly round it off to an integer. Otherwise, we will never get to. I mean, we'll never get to things unless we'll always scroll. Round to an integer always rounds down. So, but let's start with this, and then if it turns out that it works, then we can go from there. So 0 offsets divided by let center to center width equal item size. We're only ever going to use the width. Zero offset divided by so center to center is item width plus the layout dot and we determined that line spacing was the one? I think it is. Just want to check where I set this up, which was in the draw view. Where we determined that, yeah, line spacing, because collection views always think that they're horizontal even when they're vertical. No, other way around. They always think that they're vertical even when they're horizontal. So the line spacing is still the inner item space. Ah, it's so backwards. So backwards. Okay. So item width plus spacing is the center to center width, and so the index is going to be the 0 offset divided by 0 offset divided by center to center width. And if we... I guess we can say whatever that ends up being. So we'll say let's we actually won't convert that to an int yet. We'll call it index candidate. So that'll be 0.576 or whatever. Oh, hit the microphone. I hope that didn't make any bad noises. So that'll be 0.576 or 3.257 or, you know, whatever. So index candidate 1.0 greater than 0.5. Okay, so we lop off the beginning, and then we count how many cards over that we can go, and we, by dividing that, we end up with a fraction. If we're over halfway, we'll use this to figure out whether we're over halfway. If we are over halfway, we round up. If not, we round down. And then so let index equal index, an integer from index candidate. Surely there was an easier way to do that. Why isn't paging built into collection views? And then we want to just scroll to that index. Probably won't work at all. No time like the present. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's true. That's interesting UI collection view to note. That we cannot end up with we don't want to end up with a negative index. That's not possible. And we don't want to ever scroll over the maximum of what we are allowed in our index, or our collection view. So oh, the battery on the iPad is going back down again. Interesting. So we want Okay, so now we want to say let index equal the maximum of index candidate and 0, and the minimum of that and right, no, not draw view. No, never mind. Cards drawn. Dot count -1. So basically, the minimum, or that if the index candidate is lower than 0, we use 0. If it's higher than the actual maximum index of our collection, then we use the maximum index of the collection. So we can't over scroll. Now, I was going to, before I started down this path, I was going to go to my card view. No, my draw view controller. My draw view. And we were going to set the item size to a more reasonable amount, or a more predictable amount. So I think I do like setting the size here, after all. This is based on screen size, so it is a var. So we'll just take this. All right, that was the problem, that it doesn't know the it doesn't know the size of the collection view, which is annoying. That's why I backed off of that. So back to our controller, put it back here. Now, the flow layout delegate hasn't been set at the point that we're going to set that inset, but we can just set the inset with the delegate instead. Let's do that. I don't like that it's asking for the section in the inset, though. That's not making me super happy. Oh, it still is the section inside. Okay. So then why is this the content inset? That's not what we want. So we want the... Okay, so we should just be able to base this on the size. This is what I want to do. I want to say the inset for the section is going to be edge insets, and then we'll actually spread these down here. So top will be 0, left will be layout dot item oh, it's just a layout. So layout dot item size dot width divided by, or say let inset equal item size, layout item size dot width. We want collection view, no, just the collection view dot frame dot size dot width minus this divided by 2. Sure, we'll do it like that. Okay. So basically we want the first card and the last card to be centered. So the space to either side of them should be if the first card's showing or the last card's showing, it should be centered. So the space to either side of it should be half of the total width of the collection view minus the width of the card. And I've got like a million warnings all of a sudden. Okay, so I made a mistake over here, obviously. What did I do? Nothing that couldn't be undone, apparently. All right. Let's see if this works. Okay, that's centered. That's where we want it. That's not what we want to happen. I don't think. Okay, it's definitely overshooting, but it's it's doing something resembling what we want it to do. Definitely the math is wrong. So it's definitely always rounding up. Let's actually start doing some caveman logging here and see what's happening. Okay. Let's try it like that. So we barely move it at all. The horizontal offset is 107.5, which gives it a zero offset of 66.5. That's not correct. The zero offset here should be 0. Or, like, very close to 0. Just gonna turn this off for a second. Just want to check and make sure that my insets are where I expect them to be. I mean, it certainly seems like they are, but like that shouldn't be. That's not right. Like, the inset shouldn't let me move past those points. It's getting called. Yeah. Okay. Incidentally, this is not the kind of stuff that I would typically be doing at work, which is what makes it kind of fun, but at the same time, always feels like I should be better at doing this kind of stuff. I don't know. I mean, I guess when I've been like coding 50-hour days for an entire week and doing something on a Friday, it's like, what are you gonna do? Yeah, like brain not work. I don't know how many points across is the iPhone SE screen. By 640. Half that's 320. That's probably right. Actually makes the card seem very small. Feels like our inside is not big enough. Let's look at our collection view. Yeah, that seems like it's fine. Because if the edge insets together are 270 out of a 360 screen, that's like too much. It is possible that this is... Okay, let's try something different. 'Cause this is not working. I'm just gonna hard code this and see what happens. And of course I see now why that's not going to work. I can't hard code it because I don't have the collection view size in the collection view, or in the draw view. Just go to Stack Overflow and get some code and copy and paste and be done. Like, yeah, I shouldn't need a framework for this RV Illustrator. Like, this should not be that difficult, but... Oh. I don't understand. And I'm just exhausted. I think that's the problem. So the inset was definitely doing something. But like now you can see we can't. I don't like that interaction. Just the content inset, like it shouldn't be able to scroll past that. That's what's freaking me out. At least as far as I was aware from everything that I know about content insets. Maybe that's wrong here. We are in the land of collection views instead of table views, which is different. I'm gonna go back to so we can set a content inset on the layout, or not? No, we can only set a section inset. Didn't we like accidentally? I typically use the frame for stuff like this because I don't trust the bounds on scroll views, but it's possible that bounds is actually the correct. Also, I just had a weird thought, and that's like, what if? No, it can't. I was like, what if the top and bottom are the left and right on a horizontal collection view? But I don't think that's the case. instead of querying the delegate for the size of the card, I'm just gonna I'm very tired. I'm just gonna, because I know it anyway. Let's see what that does. And if that's like doing the same thing where it like centers it, but doesn't like, okay, that's better. So the problem was that we were not getting the right card size, which like, okay, all right, whatever. We can move on from here. So and now look, all our math works. everything just works now. What? So it was just that there's definitely some issues with like velocity going on here. Like, oh, this is not bad. Like, also we're like always scrolling up. Like always rounding up every time. No. That rounded down. That rounded down. Definitely biased toward rounding up, but not by like much. Why is that? So our math is a bit off, but it's actually not off by a lot. The thing where we go from here and it scrolls all the way back is not great. And that just straight up chose the wrong spot to go to. Definitely, like, this is a problem. Yeah, our math is wrong, but it's not as wrong as it could have been. So that's something. And again, we were using that item width again there. Let's just like do our brutal hard coding there again. That's even worse. Okay. So when we drop that, it has a horizontal inset of 125. The left inset is 16. That now seems very low. So if we barely move it and drop it, we end up with a horizontal offset of -8. Left inset of 16. That should be just constant every single time. And it seems, as I say, quite low. Zero offset of -49. That's not right. So again, it seems like our what we're getting from the flow layout is not actually what we want. Just want to try this. We should just be able to call our own delegate methods. Index path tired. Item 0 section 0. Okay, so interesting that there was a namespace confusion between that method and the... Okay. Let's just for a second try this. So here, instead of asking the layout for its item size, which theoretically is what calling this method should do, okay, that's looking better. Okay, so instead of asking the collection view for its size, we are just calling the method and getting it calling our own delegate method where we set it and getting it from that, which is like not the most elegant way of doing things, but it is getting us the right answer. Let's so autocorrect has stopped working, which is usually a sign that something is wrong. 0. Oh, draw view. It's got cards on it, so it counts as a card view, I guess. Turns out you need to change it everywhere when you change it in one place. There we go. Hey, it all turned blue. That means good things, right? Right? Please mean good things. Okay. Moment of truth, folks. Still not working. Okay, the left inset looks more reasonable now. The horizontal offset is already zeroed, so our 0 point is wrong. So right now our 0 point is horizontal offset minus left inset minus left item width. We had a horizontal offset of 2 when we barely moved it, which implies to me that that it's not incorporating the left inset into the horizontal offset. So the actual horizontal offset should just be minus the item width over 2. It gives us the center of the... So when the offset is... When the offset is at the center of the card, but it already is at the center of the card. I love that art. The sun art is the best art that she has done. It is amazing. Okay, so now... Now, it's possible that we actually don't want the 0 offset, and the offset is... The offset's already zeroing itself. So we can actually just remove that. So what we were getting should have actually been giving us one higher than we wanted. We've got like final boss music. Hey. Okay. Okay, this is looking more like the behavior that we want. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now, we still should probably take velocity into account here. I think I might be overriding the wrong method, honestly, but that's generally okay. All right, we got there. It took longer than I would have hoped, and there are some weird workarounds, specifically calling the delegate methods here, which I feel like I shouldn't have to do, but you know what, that's okay for now. I will go with it. Hooray, caveman logging. That's... should probably be cave person logging. To be, you know, politically correct about people living in caves. We actually never use this left inset because we don't need it. Okay, that's nice. That's looking better. I'm sorry for the general downer tone of tonight's stream, where I've been beating up on myself a lot and getting grumpy at stuff. I'm hoping that I'm feeling better soon, because yeah, it's just been a very long few weeks at work, working on far more finicky stuff than this. This is more in a state where I would be happier for Ash to see it, because then, you know, like, you can see her art. This still looks kind of like garbage. We need to fix that at some point. I don't know what the solution is for that. I mean, obviously this text needs to be smaller. That's going to go a long way towards solving that. But Kroglog. That's perfect, Rock Pusher. I like it. I like it. Yeah, sometimes, some days are more inspired than others. Some day, I just wish, this is a hard thing, what I am doing right now. It is difficult, especially since sometimes things don't behave in the way that you expect them to. What we discovered here was that my math was all ultimately correct. That the problem was that I just didn't know how to use the collection view layouts which is not surprising because they're really obscure and weird. Um, but it's also easy to get frustrated and beat up on yourself, and especially when you're only spending like 3 hours a week on the project. It's like, this is my valuable time. It's all I've got. I really want to find a solution for that. As I say, we'll make that font smaller so that it doesn't take up the entire card when it's showing. And I guess ideally we'd have some sort of like nice border on the cards as opposed to just having them be, having them look gross. I mean, they look okay. The art looks really good, but the borders and whatnot are not great. I just love this one. I need to make that like my desktop background. Not my desktop background, my phone background. I wonder if that's allowed. Yeah, like this is a hard thing, and so it is important to keep that in perspective. But also, you know, you got to keep pushing forward and being hard on yourself enough to keep up momentum and keep yourself working hard. Okay, I think that this is a reasonable stopping point because we have accomplished something. Oh my gosh, that felt like it took forever, so that's good. And we can do some more easy stuff next time. This actually seems to be taking momentum into account pretty well. Oh, but it did that. That's not great. It feels like maybe sometimes if it drifts, it can end up in the wrong spot. Interesting. Okay, that needs to be solved. But that is hopefully a more minor thing. Yeah. And technical difficulties tonight. Need to get a new iPad, apparently. Well, or get my iPad repaired. I'm not super happy about that at all. But yeah, I guess we will cross that bridge when we come to it. I'm going to go back to face. Hey, can you see me? So, yeah, it's been a kind of a weird night. But we got a fair bit done, and we got the collection view paging done, which was going to need to get done at some point. I kind of wish that it was not, you know, all night, but you know, whatever. We got it finished, and sometimes things take all night. I'm hoping that I will have some time over the weekend. I need to sleep over the weekend very badly because, as I say, I've been crunching for like 3 weeks at work, and I'm just wrecked from that. But I'm hoping to find some time this weekend to finish up with the Apple, what was it called? Apple Developer Connect stuff, basically uploading the app, uploading a beta so that Ash can see it. So there's more to do there. I think a lot of it is going to be, you know, making icons and whatnot, and I do not know anymore if I can get it done in an hour. Last time I was like, oh yeah, I can probably get it done in an hour, and it took a lot more than an hour because I was doing all the key signing stuff and all that. But you know, we can hopefully try at some point over the weekend to get the rest of that done. I don't want to do it on these streams because I want to save them for mostly coding. So yeah, we will go from there. So thanks a lot. Have a good evening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for chatting. And I'll mention that I'm on Twitter. I have a Twitter account for this stream, which is not surprisingly GUIDuckTV. So you can check that out too, where I will sometimes tweet, but not very frequently. And if I don't follow you back, don't worry about it, because I don't actually follow anyone on Twitter. It's quieter that way. And yeah, so, but you can at me if you want to. That is also fine. I will maybe answer. Probably I will answer. But because I'm not being distracted by other people's tweets. All right. Have a good weekend, folks. And thank you for joining me. And I will see you again, hopefully a lot less tired very soon.